The moon gathering. The silver moon hung heavy in the night sky, casting pale light across the ceremonial grounds of the Crimson Moon Pack. Hundreds of wolves gathered in their finest clothes, their eyes gleaming with excitement. Tonight was the moon gathering, the most important celebration of the year. Tonight, bonds would be strengthened, and the Luna would renew her vows to the pack. I stood on the raised platform in my white ceremonial gown, my heart pounding against my ribs. The dress had taken weeks to make, every pearl sewn by hand, every thread chosen with care. I wanted to be perfect for this moment. Perfect for him. Perfect for Damien, my mate, my alpha, my everything. But Damien wasn't looking at me. His dark eyes were fixed on someone in the crowd. I followed his gaze and felt my blood turn to ice. There, standing in a crimson dress that matched her lips, was my younger sister Elena. She smiled at him, a secret smile that spoke of hidden things, of whispered promises in the dark. Brothers and sisters of the Crimson Moon Pack. Elder Marcus's voice boomed across the grounds. Tonight, we gather under the blessed moon to witness the renewal of sacred bonds. The crowd cheered. I tried to smile, but my face felt frozen. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Damien finally climbed the steps to join me on the platform. He was beautiful, as always, with his strong jaw and midnight black hair. We had been mates for 3 years. 3 years of love, of building this pack together, of planning our future. Or so I thought. Alpha Damien, Elder Marcus continued, do you reaffirm your bond with Luna Aria before the moon and your pack? The silence stretched too long. 1 second. 2 seconds. 5 seconds. The crowd began to whisper. No, Damien said finally, his voice cold and clear. I do not. The betrayal unveiled. The world tilted beneath my feet. Gasps erupted from the crowd. This wasn't possible. Mates didn't reject each other during the moon gathering. It was sacred. It was unbreakable. Damien? My voice came out as a broken whisper. What are you doing? He turned to face me fully, and I saw nothing but contempt in his eyes. How had I missed it? How long had he looked at me this way? I'm correcting a mistake, he said. You were never meant to be my Luna, Aria. You're weak. Your bloodline is ordinary. You've given me no heirs in 3 years. He paused, letting each word sink in like a blade. I found my true mate. Your true mate? I repeated, my mind struggling to understand. But I am your true mate. The moon bond was a lie, Elena's voice rang out as she glided through the parting crowd. She climbed the steps gracefully, her red dress flowing behind her like blood. Or rather, it was incomplete. You see, dear sister, Damien and I have been together for 2 years. We are the true mates. You were just, in the way. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. My sister. My baby sister, whom I had protected, whom I had loved, whom I had defended when our parents died. 2 years? I looked between them, seeing the truth in their faces, in the way they stood close together, in the way his hand found hers automatically. 2 years, and you both lied to me every single day? It wasn't personal, Damien said with a shrug. It was politics. Your father was beta when we first mated. I needed his support to become alpha. But he's dead now, and Elena is stronger than you ever were. She carries alpha blood in a way you never could. Elena smiled sweetly. I'm also 3 months pregnant with his child. An heir. Something you failed to provide. The crowd's whispers turned to murmurs of agreement. I could see it in their faces, they believed this was right. They believed I had failed. Cast into darkness. I, Alpha Damien Blackthorn, reject you, Aria Moonstone, as my mate and Luna of the Crimson Moon Pack. The formal words echoed across the ceremonial grounds. Pain exploded through my chest as the mate bond began to tear. It felt like my heart was being ripped from my body, like every cell in my being was screaming in agony. I collapsed to my knees, gasping for air that wouldn't come. "The Luna title is hereby stripped," Elder Marcus announced, though he looked uncomfortable. "All pack bonds are severed." I felt each connection snap, the invisible threads that had tied me to every pack member, the sense of belonging, the warmth of community. One by one, they broke, leaving me hollow and cold. "Get her out of my sight," Damien ordered. "She has until dawn to leave pack territory. If she's found here after sunrise, she'll be executed as a rogue." 2 guards grabbed my arms and dragged me from the platform. I was too weak to resist, too broken to fight. The crowd parted as they hauled me through, and I saw it all, the pity, the disgust, the relief that it wasn't them being destroyed. They threw me at the edge of pack territory, at the border of the forbidden forest where no wolf dared to go. Rogues lived there, wild and mad, driven insane by the lack of pack bonds. And worse things lurked in those shadows, ancient things that hunted wolves for sport. "You have nothing," one guard said as they removed my ceremonial jewelry, the symbols of my former status. "No pack, no mate, no family. You're nobody now." They left me there in my torn white dress, bleeding from scraped knees, my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. Behind me, I could hear the celebration starting again. They were already celebrating their new Luna. Celebrating Elena. I stood on shaking legs and looked at the dark forest before me. I had 2 choices: stay and be executed at dawn, or enter the forbidden forest and probably die anyway. I chose the forest. Into the shadows. The tree swallowed me whole. Ancient pines stretched toward the sky, their branches blocking out the moonlight. The temperature dropped immediately, and I wrapped my arms around myself, my thin ceremonial dress offering no protection against the cold. Every step took me deeper into territory I'd been taught to fear since childhood. Stories of the forbidden forest were used to scare pups into obedience. Stories of rogues who had lost their minds, of creatures that were neither wolf nor human, of an alpha so cruel and powerful that even other alphas spoke his name in whispers. The Shadow King. I walked for hours, my feet bleeding, my body exhausted. The pain of the severed mate bond was worse than any physical injury. It pulsed through me with every heartbeat, a constant reminder of what I'd lost, of what had been stolen from me. Finally, I couldn't go any further. I collapsed against a tree, sliding down until I sat on the cold ground. This was it. This was how I would die, alone, betrayed, broken. "Well, well," a deep voice said from the darkness. "What do we have here?" I jerked my head up. A man stood before me, though I hadn't heard him approach. He was tall, with silver-gray eyes that seemed to glow in the darkness. His black hair fell to his shoulders, and he wore clothes of midnight blue and black. Power radiated from him like heat from a fire. "Stay away from me," I tried to sound threatening, but my voice was weak. He tilted his head, studying me with those strange eyes. "You're packless. I can smell it on you. Fresh rejection, by the state of you." He crouched down to my level. "Tell me, little wolf, what crime did you commit to deserve such punishment?" "I trusted the wrong people," I said bitterly. "Ah." He nodded as if this explained everything. "The oldest crime of all." He stood, offering me his hand. "You have 3 options. First, you can stay here and die of exposure or be eaten by something unpleasant. Second, you can try to make it to another pack's territory and beg for mercy, though no pack takes in rejected Lunas, too much bad luck. Or third." He paused, his silver eyes glinting. "You can come with me." "Who are you?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "I am Cale Darkmoor," he said simply. "Alpha of the Shadow Pack. King of the Forbidden Forest. And the one person who can give you what you truly want." "What do I want?" His smile was sharp and dangerous. "Revenge. A dangerous offer." I should have been afraid. Every instinct should have been screaming at me to run. Cale Darkmoor was legendary, the most feared alpha in existence, banished decades ago for crimes no one would speak of. His pack was made up of rogues and outcasts, wolves too dangerous for normal pack life. But I wasn't afraid. I was angry. What would you want in return? I asked, because nothing came free. I'd learned that lesson tonight. Smart question. Kale pulled his hand back and settled on a fallen log across from me. I want what all powerful men want, more power. Your former pack sits on strategic territory. They control 3 major trade routes and have valuable alliances. I've been planning to take them down for years, but they're too well defended. He leaned forward. Unless someone opens the door from the inside. You want me to betray my pack, I said flatly. I want you to betray the people who betrayed you first, he corrected. There's a difference. Your alpha humiliated you publicly. Your sister stole your mate and your position. Your pack stood by and let it happen. Why do you owe them loyalty? I don't, I admitted. The realization settled in my chest like a stone. I owed them nothing. They had taken everything from me and thrown me away like garbage. Then let me train you, Kale said. Let me make you strong. Let me show you how to take back everything they stole and more. In 6 months, you'll return to the Crimson Moon Pack, not as a rejected Luna, but as my shadow Luna, powerful, feared, and ready to destroy everyone who hurt you. Why would you do this? I asked. Train me, I mean. You could just attack the pack yourself. Because I see potential in you, he said simply. And because I despise wolves like Damien Blackthorn, alphas who think power comes from cruelty rather than strength. He needs to be taught a lesson. Kale stood, offering his hand again. So, little wolf, what will it be? Death, humiliation, or revenge? I looked at his outstretched hand. This was madness. Going with the Shadow King was probably a worse death than staying in the forest. But at least it was a choice. At least I would die fighting instead of crying in the dirt. I reached up and took his hand. His grip was firm and warm as he pulled me to my feet. The moment our hands touched, I felt something strange, a pulse of energy, different from the mate bond but just as powerful. His silver eyes widened slightly, the first sign of surprise I'd seen from him. Interesting, he murmured. Very interesting indeed. What? I asked. Nothing to concern yourself with now. He released my hand but stayed close. Can you walk? I tested my weight on my bleeding feet and nearly collapsed. Before I could fall, Kale swept me up in his arms as if I weighed nothing. Put me down, I protested weakly. You can barely stand, and we have miles to go before dawn, he said, already moving through the forest with supernatural speed. Save your pride for when it matters, Arya Moonstone. You're going to need it. As he carried me deeper into the forbidden forest, toward whatever fate awaited me in the Shadow Pack, I looked back one last time. Somewhere behind us, the Crimson Moon Pack was celebrating. Damien and Elena were probably in the Alpha's chambers now, planning their future together. They thought they'd destroyed me. They thought I was broken beyond repair. They had no idea what they'd created. Kale? I said softly. Yes? Teach me everything. Make me strong enough that they'll regret ever letting me go. In the darkness, I felt rather than saw his smile. Oh, little wolf, he said, his voice full of dark. Promise. When I'm done with you, they'll regret the day they were born. The moon disappeared behind clouds as we vanished into the shadows, and with it, the last traces of the weak, trusting Luna I used to be. Something new was being born in the darkness, something harder, sharper, and infinitely more dangerous. Damien and Elena wanted a monster? I would give them one. Part 2, Ashes to Fire, 2,000 words. The Shadow Pack territory. I woke to the sound of wolves howling. Not the familiar, comforting howls of pack communication, but something wilder, more primal. These were the sounds of creatures who lived on the edge of madness, who had chosen freedom over safety. The room around me was simple but clean, a far cry from the luxurious Luna chambers I'd left behind. Stone walls, a single window with iron bars, a bed with rough blankets. Prison or protection? I couldn't tell yet. The door opened without warning. Cale entered, now wearing training clothes, simple black pants and a sleeveless shirt that revealed arms covered in scars and strange markings. In the morning light, he looked even more dangerous than he had in the forest. "You're awake," he observed. "Good. We start training immediately." "Training?" I sat up, wincing at the pain in my feet. Someone had bandaged them while I slept. "I need time to heal, too." "You need time to get stronger," Cale interrupted. "Every day you waste is another day Damien and Elena solidify their power. Every day is another day they believe they won." He tossed a set of clothes at me. "Get dressed. You have 5 minutes." He left without another word. I stared at the clothes, dark leather pants, a fitted shirt, boots. These were warrior clothes, not Luna gowns. A uniform for someone who intended to fight, not decorate a throne. Something fierce sparked in my chest. Yes. This was what I needed. I dressed quickly, ignoring the pain in my body. When I emerged from the room, a young woman waited outside. She had wild red hair and green eyes that assessed me critically. "I'm Sage," she said shortly. "Beta of the Shadow Pack. Follow me." Broken and rebuilt. The training grounds were unlike anything I'd seen before. Where the Crimson Moon Pack had an organized arena with protective barriers and rules, this was raw and brutal. Wolves fought in the dirt, no holds barred. Blood was common. Defeat was expected. "This is where we make warriors," Sage said, leading me to a cleared section. "Not pampered pack members who've never known real struggle. Everyone here has lost something. Everyone here has been broken. We take that pain and forge it into weapons." Cale stood in the center of the grounds, arms crossed. Around him, training stopped as wolves turned to stare at me. I felt their eyes, curious, suspicious, hostile. An outsider. A rejected Luna. Weakness. "This is Arya," Cale announced, his voice carrying across the grounds. "Former Luna of the Crimson Moon Pack. Rejected and cast out. She has come here seeking revenge, seeking power, seeking to become something more than she was." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some looked sympathetic. Most looked skeptical. "She will train with us," Cale continued. "She will break with us. She will rise with us. And in 6 months, she will return to destroy those who wronged her. Anyone who has a problem with this can challenge me now." Silence. No one moved. Cale's authority was absolute. "Good." He turned to me. "Your first lesson, Arya. You're weak. Your pack coddled you, taught you to be decorative instead of dangerous. Everything you learned there, forget it. We start from nothing." "I'm not weak," I said, anger flaring. "I was trained as." "You were trained to be a pretty ornament," Cale said bluntly. "You were trained to stand beside an alpha and smile. You were never trained to be powerful in your own right. That changes now." He moved so fast I didn't see it coming. One moment he was 10 feet away, the next his fist was inches from my face. I flinched, stumbling backward. "Dead," Cale said flatly. "Fight or die, Arya. Those are your only options here." He attacked again, and this time I tried to block. My defense was pathetic, slow and telegraphed. His strike went around it easily, tapping my ribs hard enough to hurt but not injure. "Dead," he said again. Again and again, he came at me. Each time, I failed. Each time, he called out my death. The pack watched in silence, and I felt their judgment, their disappointment. Was this really the wolf their alpha was wasting time on? Tears of frustration burned in my eyes. I was better than this. I had to be better than this. Stop crying, Kale ordered. Tears don't protect you. Tears don't make you strong. Pain does. Failure does. Getting up after you've been knocked down 100 times, that's what makes you dangerous. He attacked once more, and this time, something snapped inside me. All the rage I'd been holding back since the rejection ceremony, all the pain, the humiliation, the betrayal, it erupted like a volcano. I didn't block. I attacked back. My punch was wild and untrained, but it was fast and fueled by fury. Kale dodged easily, but I saw surprise flash in his silver eyes. Good. I wanted him surprised. I wanted him to see that I wasn't just a broken reject waiting to be saved. Better, he said, actually smiling. Again. The blood of power. 3 months passed in a blur of pain and progress. Every day started before dawn with physical training that left me gasping and bleeding. Every afternoon was combat practice, learning to fight like a predator instead of prey. Every evening was strategy, studying pack dynamics, learning to read people's weaknesses and exploit them. Sage became my unlikely friend. She was harsh and demanding, but fair. She'd been rejected by her own pack 5 years ago for being too aggressive, too masculine, too much. The shadow pack had given her a place to belong, and she'd risen to beta through sheer determination and skill. You're getting faster, she commented one afternoon after I'd finally managed to land a solid hit on her. Your form still needs work, but you're starting to think like a fighter. It's not enough, I said, frustrated. In 3 months, I need to face Damien. He's a born alpha, trained since childhood. You're exactly where you need to be, Kale's voice came from behind me. I'd learned he did that, appeared without warning, always watching, always assessing. You're making progress. More than I expected, actually. He stepped closer, and I noticed something in his expression. Interest. Maybe even approval. There's something else, he said. Something I've been monitoring since the night I found you. When we touched, I felt something. A power in you that shouldn't exist. What do you mean? Most wolves have one gift: strength, speed, healing. Basic abilities. But there are legends of wolves with ancient bloodlines, wolves who can do more. Much more. His silver eyes studied me intently. I think you're one of them. That's impossible, I said. I'm nobody. My parents were ordinary pack members. There's nothing special about my bloodline. Your parents may have been ordinary, Kale said slowly. But that doesn't mean their bloodlines were. Powerful gifts can hide for generations, waiting for the right trigger to awaken them. What kind of trigger? Extreme trauma. Severing of pack bonds. A near-death experience. He paused meaningfully. Like a very public, very painful rejection. My heart began to race. You think I have some kind of power? I think you have immense power, Kale corrected. I think your former pack kept you weak and dependent so you'd never discover it. And I think we're about to find out exactly what you're capable of. He led me away from the training grounds to a secluded clearing deep in the forest. Strange symbols were carved into the trees, and the air felt thick with ancient magic. This is a testing ground, Kale explained. A place where wolves can safely explore their abilities without hurting others. I want you to shift. I haven't shifted since the rejection, I admitted. It's been too painful. I know. Your wolf is wounded, traumatized. But she's also angry. Channel that anger. Let her out. I closed my eyes and reached for my wolf. For 3 months, she'd been hidden deep inside, licking her wounds, barely responsive. But now, as I called to her, I felt her stir. And she wasn't just wounded anymore. She was furious. The shift happened faster than it ever had before. Usually, transformation took minutes, a slow, controlled process. This time, it was explosive. My bones cracked and reformed in seconds. My senses sharpened to impossible levels. And when I opened my eyes, the world looked different. Everything was brighter, sharper. I could see energy flowing through the trees, could smell emotions on the wind, could hear heartbeats from miles away. Remarkable, Kale breathed. Look at yourself. I looked down at my paws and froze. My fur wasn't the normal brown I'd always had. It was silver, pure, shimmering silver that seemed to glow in the fading light. And I was larger, much larger than I'd been before. You're a silver wolf, Kale said, and there was awe in his voice. They're supposed to be extinct. They were hunted down centuries ago because they were too powerful, too dangerous. Their abilities were legendary. What abilities? I asked, my voice strange coming from my wolf form. We're about to find out. Power awakened. Over the next weeks, Kale helped me discover what I could do. And it was terrifying. I could sense emotions, read them like books. Fear, anger, joy, deceit, I felt them all radiating from people around me. It made me nearly impossible to lie to. I could move faster than any wolf I'd ever seen. Not just running, but fighting. My strikes were blurs of silver, my dodges impossible to predict. I could heal injuries that should have taken days and mere hours. Cuts closed themselves. Bruises faded. Even the emotional wounds from my rejection began to scar over instead of bleeding constantly. But the most remarkable ability was something Kale called dominance projection. I could exert my will on other wolves, not controlling them exactly, but making them submit, making them feel my power like a physical weight. This is why Damien kept you weak, Kale said after a particularly impressive training session. Somewhere, somehow, he sensed what you could become. Maybe not consciously, but alphas have instincts about threats to their power. He made sure you never realized your potential. And Elena? I asked bitterly. Your sister probably has some gifts too, that's why he chose her over you once your father was dead and he didn't need your family's political support anymore. But I guarantee she's not a silver wolf. What you have, Arya, it's once-in-a-generation power. I looked at my hands, human again after shifting back. They didn't look different. But I felt different. Strong. Dangerous. Ready. How much longer until I'm ready? I asked. Kale smiled, that sharp, predatory smile I'd come to recognize. You're already ready. But we're going to use the next 3 months to make you overwhelming. When you walk back into that pack, I want every wolf to feel your power before you even speak. I want Damien to see what he threw away and know he's made the biggest mistake of his life. And Elena? Your sister, Kale said softly, is going to learn that stealing another woman's mate comes with consequences she never imagined. The plan takes shape. 6 months after my rejection, I stood in Kale's strategy room, looking at maps of Crimson Moon Pact territory. I'd changed so completely that I barely recognized myself. My body was lean with muscle, my eyes harder, my presence commanding. The weak, trusting Luna was gone. In her place was someone new. Someone dangerous. The Alpha Summit is in 2 weeks, Kale said, pointing to a location on the map. Every major pack will attend, including Crimson Moon. It's neutral territory, so they can't refuse your presence. Damien will try to have me removed, I said. Let him try. Kale's smile was pure wickedness. You're no longer a rejected Omega with no pack. You're the Shadow Luna, my mate and all but the formal ceremony. That makes you untouchable by Summit law. I looked at him sharply. We'd grown close over the months, but we hadn't discussed any kind of mate bond. The agreement was revenge, nothing more. Don't look so panicked, Kale said, amused. It's political positioning, not a marriage proposal. Though. He paused, his silver eyes meeting mine with unusual intensity. We should probably discuss the fact that you feel it too. Feel what? The pull between us. It started that first night in the forest. It's grown stronger with every day we've spent together. He moved closer. You know what it is, Arya. Don't pretend you don't. My heart pounded. I did know. Despite everything, despite my broken mate bond with Damien, I felt drawn to Kale. It wasn't the same as before, it was darker, more intense, built on understanding rather than idealization. It doesn't matter, I said firmly. I'm not ready for that. I may never be ready for that. All I want is revenge. I know. Kale's expression softened slightly. And you'll have it. But after, when Damien and Elena are destroyed, when you've taken back everything they stole, maybe then we can explore what this is between us. Maybe, I agreed quietly. Then, pushing away the confusing emotions, I focused back on the map. Tell me the plan. Kale outlined it carefully. We would arrive at the summit as Shadow Pack representatives. I would be introduced as the Shadow Luna, surprising everyone who thought I was dead or living as a rogue. We would use the summit's formal settings to expose Elena's lies and Damien's cruelty. And then we take your pack from them, Kale finished. No. Through violence, that would break summit law and turn the other packs against us. But through politics, through showing the pack members what real leadership looks like, through making Damien look like the weak, petty alpha he truly is. He won't go quietly, I said. Good. Kale's eyes gleamed. The best revenge isn't silent. The best revenge makes them scream. The return journey. 2 weeks later, I stood at the border of Crimson Moon territory for the first time in 6 months. I wore black leather and silver jewelry, my hair long and wild, my eyes lined with dark makeup. I looked nothing like the gentle Luna who'd been rejected here. Sage and a small group of Shadow Pack warriors flanked me. Kale would arrive separately tomorrow, making a grand entrance as the Shadow King. Today was about my return. About walking back onto the land that had cast me out and daring them to try it again. Ready? Sage asked quietly. I looked at the border markers, at the packlands beyond. Somewhere in there, Damien and Elena were living in luxury, probably celebrating their upcoming official mating ceremony at the summit. They thought they'd won. They thought they were safe. I'm ready, I said, my voice steady and cold. Let's go remind them what they created. We crossed the border, and I felt every wolf in the territory sense my presence. The shock rippled through the pack bonds I could no longer feel but could still sense. The impossible had happened. The rejected Luna had returned. And this time, she had teeth,